Hi, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense here on YouTube. Did Sergeant Daniel Perry commit murder when he shot Garrett Foster in Austin last year? Well, I have some opinions on that, and I'm going to share them in just a moment. Texas law, like the law in most states, most reasonable states, in this case I'm leaving out places like Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, California, Oregon, and Washington, since there is not a reasonable legislature in any of those states. Illinois too, I would add Illinois. The bottom line with Texas law is that it gives you the right to self-defense, and it does so without the need for retreat. There is a statute directly on point, and basically what it says is this, that if you are in a place that you have a legal right to be, and you are presented with a deadly threat, you have the right to respond to that deadly threat with deadly force. So here's what we know about what happened, and I would suggest to you that the media has been terribly disingenuous with this. They have been reporting what the prosecution has said repeatedly, but they have not repeated very much of what the defense has said. And so as a result, there's a little bit of a false narrative out there that somehow Sergeant Perry just went gunslinger on this guy and shot him for no reason. Here's what happened. Sergeant Perry was driving for Uber at the time. He had dropped somebody off, he made a turn down the street, and he encountered a whole bunch of protesters. Now, when a march is properly organized, it is usually protected by police officers, and usually police officers secure the traffic pattern and direct traffic away from that kind of protest. The protest that was going on that night was not a lawful protest. It was not a lawful march. It was a bunch of hooligans in the street protesting police brutality. Now, keep in mind, they're not protesting police brutality in Austin, Texas, because I'm pretty sure the police in Austin, Texas are afraid to arrest anybody for anything, except, of course, when the district attorney says, hey, go out there and, arrest this guy who defended his life against another person. But generally speaking, they were only there to create noise and basically make a statement. Now, I believe very strongly in the right of peaceful protest. What I don't believe in is the ability to essentially block traffic and beat and bang on people's cars. And as you may be well aware, there have been a number of states, and I believe Texas is one now, that says, look, if you're out in the middle of the road and you're protesting and somebody hits you, it's on you, dude. And that should be the way it is. Now, what happened was a bunch of protesters were in his way. He was trying to get back so he could get another Uber ride, I'm guessing, and he honked at them. And so they started beating and banging on his car. So when they started beating and banging on his car, he had every right to believe, based on how these protests had gone in other cities, that someone was going to try to break into his car or damage his car or at least put him at risk. And he was certainly his car was being assaulted. He had every right to believe that he was being assaulted. Now, that doesn't mean that gives him the right to shoot somebody at that point, but what it does do is it sets the stage. And the stage it sets is for what happened at that point. He's in his car, and these people converge on his car. And he now has threats 360 degrees around him. And that's when Garrett Foster walked up to his car. Now, Garrett Foster has been painted as an Air Force veteran who was lawfully carrying an AK-47. Isn't it amazing that when one of these pranksters gets shot and killed after carrying a weapon like this, they are somehow an open carry advocate and somehow doing the right thing when the left would otherwise tell us that this person was, violating all of the laws of humanity simply by having a rifle. But the bottom line is, it is legal to openly carry a rifle in Texas. What it is not legal to do is to point that rifle at someone. When you point a weapon at someone else, the person that you point that weapon at has the right to believe that you are A, pointing a loaded weapon at them, and B, have every intention of using it. And so you are privileged under Texas law at that point to shoot and use deadly force. And that is exactly what happened. Now, the media is pointing Mr. Foster as some kind of great humanitarian because his girlfriend was in a wheelchair and she was taking part in the protest and he didn't want to see her get run over. But nowhere in the video do you see his girlfriend be in any risk whatsoever. Rather, what you see is somebody with a rifle and with a mask on his face approach a car in such a manner that he winds up getting his fool self shot. Now, there's no other way to look at that. That's what happened in this case. Now, Texas law allows generally for a defendant to present his side of the story to the grand jury. Usually that's done with the applause, really, of the state prosecutor, because anything that's said there can later be used against that person. But in this particular instance, they did not do that. Now, the state is likely going to complain that Sergeant Perry provoked this incident by driving his car toward these people, but they were not lawfully in the street. They were blocking the street and disrupting traffic. They were not in a place where they had a legal right to be. They were not simply crossing the street. Now, if you try to run over somebody who's in a crosswalk, absolutely, that's a criminal offense. That's vehicular assault. This was not vehicular assault. This was somebody honking and asking people to get out of the way. And then, when that didn't happen, he drove slowly toward them. It wasn't like he floored his car and tried to run anybody over. He simply moved forward, trying to keep people out of his way and get them off of his car so that he could leave the area. One of the things that we teach in self-defense is that the only gunfight you are absolutely sure to win is the one you don't have. And so one of the people, John Correa, who does active self-protection on here, says you should always use run foo when it is possible. In other words, run like heck out of there. Get out of the zone of danger. You should always try to get out of the zone of danger. And that's what Sergeant Daniel Perry, tried to do. The likelihood that Garrett Foster will get convicted of murder is very, very slim. I would rate it at no better than 5%. This is a political prosecution, and Sergeant Perry is a political prisoner. There's really no other way to look at it than that. That's my opinion. Almost all of this is my opinion, and so don't confuse the opinion part with law. However, you can go on Find Law and search for the Texas self-defense statutes, and you can read them yourself, and you can see what I see, which is the state really has no case here. Thank you so much for watching. If you would, I would really appreciate if you'd smash that like button for me, and if you haven't already, go over there and press the subscribe button. Subscribe to our channel so you can get a notification every time we release a video on this channel. Again, thank you so much for watching. Have a terrific day, and I'll catch you on here next time. Thanks.